Too many businesses struggle to deliver sustainable business value from their data and AI investments. At InfoSeps, we are experts in unlocking the value that lives within your data to strengthen decisions. We are a global data solutions firm on a mission to bridge the gap between the worlds of business and analytics. We've joined forces with the Ravit Show to bring you the most cutting-edge data and AI insights.
All right, welcome to the Ravit Show. I hope y'all are having a good week. I am super excited for today's show episode. We have a special guest, Elliot, co-founder and CEO of Anomalo. Today, we'll be discussing some important topics such as data quality, data governance, data scalability, and much more. So feel free to bring in your questions for Elliot. I'm pretty sure Elliot would have some interesting insights for you, and I can't wait, definitely. Also, quick announcement about the data observability, the reality book. You might have already seen the announcement. Anomalo is also a part of the book. They've contributed a chapter, and many more data observability companies out there. So feel free to download it. You can find the post on my LinkedIn. If you're following the newsletter, you already have it. Another quick announcement about the giveaway that we're doing. We are doing a very cool giveaway, which is 2 AirPods. And what you need to do is type in hashtag Anomalo in the chat. I can already see someone typing in. I don't know who the LinkedIn user is, but I'm pretty sure I can check it in my event page. Feel free to type in, make sure the spelling is right. So we are getting it collected, like the one that Richard has put. It's in the entry. So get the spelling right. But again, for those, if you have any questions around can data quality scale in larger organizations around that, feel free to bring in for Elliot. But without any further ado, let's bring up our guest up here. Hey, Elliot, welcome to the Ravit Show. Such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Ravit.
Awesome. I was just letting the folks know about today's topic around, obviously data quality, data governance, data scalability, and many more topics as such. And I'm pretty sure the audience would have many more questions for you, Elliot. But why not we start with your introduction and then we get into everything around data.
Absolutely. So, hello, everybody. I am Elliot, and I am the co-founder and CEO of Anomalo. Anomalo is a product that helps data teams find issues in their data, root cause issues in their data, understand why those issues appear, and helps them do it at scale and helps them do it quickly. Before anyone else in the organization really notices that there's an issue with the data. And prior to starting Anomalo, I've been a long-time executive in Silicon Valley. Worked at some companies that I'm sure many of you have heard of, companies like Instacart, big grocery delivery companies like Wealthfront and FinTech, and LinkedIn. So I saw a bunch of LinkedIn users watching the stream from LinkedIn, was there, worked at the company more than 10 years ago, and it was much smaller. So have worked with data, have worked with product, have worked with growing businesses and teams, small and large, for many years.
Right. Thanks, Elliot. That is pretty interesting. And I'm pretty sure, that's one of the reasons we wanted to have this topic with you, because you've worked with so many big organizations out there. And even though back then they weren't big, but now they've become huge, like in terms of the LinkedIn itself, obviously it has become maybe 10x, maybe more than that. You never know.
More. Yeah.
Another reason why we wanted to pick something around data quality as one of the topics was because Anomalo kind of deals in it. So obviously, to start with, my first question would be around why did you start a company in the data space, first of all?
Yeah, great question. Really, like a lot of founders, it was just a problem that I faced myself, right? And so even going back to my LinkedIn days, I remember, just really struggling to use data to make decisions because I wasn't sure it was the right data. Parts of the data were missing, right? The data would change suddenly and no one would know why. And it was very difficult to rely on it, very difficult to trust it. You had to be incredibly vigilant and kind of watch the data like a hawk all the time to make sure it was the correct data and make sure you were going to make the right decision based on it, and we're going to report the right numbers to the CEO of LinkedIn, who was an avid consumer of all of our dashboard. And so it started way back when, but really the idea for Anomalo came when I was at Instacart, along with my co-founder, Jeremy Stanley. And Instacart, as many of you know, and I'm sure you know, is very successful grocery delivery company, very sophisticated data organization. There's amazing machine learning folks there. There's data flowing in from every direction. At one point when I was there, we were getting a feed from nearly every grocery store in North America, telling Instacart what was on the shelves of the grocery store so that we could make sure to, promote those items for delivery, right? And didn't promote items that you couldn't buy at the store. Exactly. Right? That would be a bad experience. We were even getting, the delivery folks that deliver your groceries at Instacart are called shoppers. And so it was very important for us when shoppers were working that we would know where they were so we could route them to the right store and give them the right order. And so at one point we were even getting a GPS feed from all the shoppers driving around all the cities that we served, where we had their exact coordinates, every minute. And so Instacart was this very data hungry and very data intensive company, and very data driven as an organization. We used machine learning for everything. If there was a big problem, we used machine learning to solve it. And so it was really surprising to me when I was there that despite all of this sophistication, how often data quality issues really made our life difficult. And so I have a couple of stories from those days, but the one I tell most often is coming into the office one day at Instacart, and my entire team was running around like crazy, and I asked what was going on. And I said, well, orders from Costco, big retailer on the Instacart platform, huge company. Orders from Costco are down 50% today. And we don't know why, right? Terrible, disaster. And so everyone's running around there checking everything. Did we break the site? Did we break our search experience? Is there something wrong at Costco? And at the end of the day, it literally just turned out to be a data quality issue. Somehow the inventory data we got from Costco the night before was missing any items from the meat department. So there's no chicken, no beef, right? And our code did exactly what it was supposed to do, which is when items are not in the feed, it doesn't show them on Instacart for sale and delivery. So it took down all the meats from our Instacart storefront for Costco. And turns out that if you don't have meats at your grocery store, or at least if you don't have meats at Costco, you get 50% less orders for grocery delivery that day. And just a data quality issue, right? Any kind of intelligence system or data quality tool that watched that data would have been able to spot this issue instantly. But despite all of our sophistication, all of the tools we had, no one caught this issue until we figured it out the next day after already losing some sales because of it. And so that was kind of one of these moments that made me realize that, despite all the sophistication, there's something missing in the modern data stack, right? There should be something that really watches our data for us and makes sure if it's of high quality and catches these kinds of issues before they impact things downstream.
No, I think Elliot, first thing, this is amazing example that you've shared already. And like I mentioned, it's also the audience. Sanjeev says great example why data quality matter. Another, obviously, it kind of brings me to another important question when we are talking about data quality, about such big organizations where if there's data quality issue in terms of, just the inventory that didn't come up, and you see like a 50% down in terms of the sales or the orders that are coming in. Does that like that kind of brings me to something which is very important. First of all, what is data quality? I'm pretty sure folks here want to learn it from you. What is data quality when you talk about data breakages and all of those things, and why is it important for organization of all sizes? Because I know you're talking about larger organizations here, but I know for a fact where Anomalo also serves to a lot of companies which is small and medium sizes as well. So can you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, so let's start with what is data quality. And so, quite simply, we look at data quality across 3 dimensions. One, and is perhaps the most important when you're using data all the time and new data is coming in, is the data you're using actually fresh, right? Has new data arrived as you expected? It's amazing to me how often folks don't realize, for example, that particular table of data that they're relying on hasn't been updated in a long time, right? And so they're using data that's stale. So freshness is one of the most important. Is this the latest of this data, right? Did I get the data from the latest period? The second one that we talk about is missing data. Very often, this is one of the biggest issues in data quality that people see when they're actually encountering this, is some part of their data is missing. It could be a random part, right? They lost the last 5 minutes of the day, it didn't arrive, right? Or it could be something very specific. An engineer checked in some bad code, and now a particular tracking event that was present in the data isn't present today, right? Or it could be a geographic issue. I get feeds from all over the country, but today the feed from Boston didn't come in. Or similar to the Costco issue, it could be, a segment was present in the data. I used to have meats in my feed, but today that segment is gone or sufficiently diminished. And then the third one are anomalies in the data. If let's say I have transactional data, I'm tracking sales in my data table. An anomaly in the sales data might be that there are some unusually large orders, or the count of orders is unusual today, either up or down from where I would expect it. Right? And you can think about a wide range of metrics like that people care about from their data sets that might have anomalies in them. We even at Anomalo look at some very advanced anomalies, like changes in correlations between columns in a table, right? Most folks don't think about that when they're evaluating data quality. They're like, they're not computing correlations between columns in a table. And the good news is when you have a data quality product like Anomalo, we can just do that for you automatically. You don't have to think about it. But that's a type of anomaly. If column A in a table is usually correlated with column B, but today that relationship changed, well, that's an indication that maybe something is wrong with that data. Something unexpected has happened. So those are generally the 3 categories, right? Is the data fresh? Is it complete? Is there any evidence of missing data? And does it have any anomalies in it? And what you'll see is companies large and small have all of these issues, right? And so we work with a wide range of companies, companies that are monitoring 50 tables in their data warehouse to companies that are monitoring 1 million tables in their data warehouse. And the issues are the same. What really changes is how difficult it is to make sure, those things are caught and addressed in these really larger scale data warehouses, right? If you're a startup and you're looking at 10 tables, 50 tables, well, your data scientists, your data analysts can probably review them manually, right? Or review the dashboards every day and catch most issues. That just isn't feasible when you have 1 million data sets in your organization. You need something much more automated that's going to find and catch the issues for you.
Right. No, I think, Elliot, these are definitely great points in terms of, first of all, understanding the data quality in why all organization, like why all sizes of organizations should have data, should be, making sure that the data quality kind of plays a very important role. We'll definitely be taking questions from the audience. So for those who are putting out questions, I have it marked. I'll be asking those to Elliot. But before jumping on to questions from the audience, so one quick question in terms of, do you have any use case that you remember or back of your mind that you can share with our audience that it kind of just connects the dots with to them as well, very clearly?
Yeah, so many. Again, a very common one is there was some bad code checked into your pipeline, and what was coming through before isn't coming through, right? A tracking event that was being tracked has disappeared or has been renamed, by the way, which is a similar issue because something downstream is probably expecting the old name. Another use case that we see with our customers all the time is third-party data. And this is somewhat similar to the Costco example, but imagine you're getting marketing data, marketing campaign performance from your advertising network, right? Google, Facebook, you name it, smaller networks. Very often that data may change. The format of that data may change unexpectedly.
Right.
Right. And now the reports you've built on it, the dashboards that you look at to assess your marketing performance may make no sense. One that I remember from the early days of Anomalo was someone was consuming one of these third-party reports on marketing data, and they had a kind of campaign spend column. And up until that day, that campaign spend was always in dollars. And then suddenly it changed, and the campaign spend was actually in the local currency of the geography where it was being spent. And suddenly no dashboards made any sense because everyone just assumed it was still dollars, right? And so it's one of those things. It's those kinds of unexpected changes. And of course, tools like Anomalo today, that would be a classic anomaly in that column, right? The distribution of that column had changed, right? So those are some of the big use cases we see.
Yeah, no, I think very interesting use case. Like, it's hard to even think about such use cases that can even happen. Like, everything looks the same, people have the same thinking around it, that nothing has changed, but suddenly from the other side, you see a currency change, which has happened. Like, if I don't work for that company, but if I look at those reports, like if the auditor kind of comes in and he or she looks at that report, it might not be in dollars. So it could be very much tricky there, and the data goes for a toss. So thanks for sharing that. One quick question. Let's take you from Krishna. He has a little different question here, but I'm pretty sure you can answer that. I want to ask a question that a field of data ops is hyping these days. What is its future in the context of advancement in ML and data science?
Yeah. So I'm going to interpret the question a little bit. So hopefully I'm answering the right question here.
Yeah.
But follow up if I'm not. My view is definitely that every company is going to use data more and more and more. Right. And so, whereas 10 years ago, you may have looked at only a few companies in the world that were really passionate about using data to make decisions. I think now every company is passionate about using data or is on a journey to become a data-driven organization. And there's a few reasons for that. Reason number one is they've seen how successful companies like Google, Amazon, Facebook have been with those approaches, have been as data-driven organizations, as organizations that are not just data-driven, but are obsessed with data. And two, which you refer to your question, Krishna, is the rise of machine learning. Everyone wants to use machine learning. Everyone wants to use the new AI technologies to do something for their business, to make their product better, to make their business better, to become more efficient, right? And so that's driven another set of exciting things that you can do with data. But data ops as you mentioned, I actually think is pretty critical in this world of everyone becoming obsessed with data. Because the truth is, your machine learning model, no matter how great it is, it's not going to perform well if it's trained on bad data. Or if maybe it's trained on perfect data that you cleaned, but once it's rolled out, if it gets unusual data that day, right? Machine learning models don't actually react well to unusual data being fed to them in real time, data that they're not expecting, data that they weren't trained on. And so it actually becomes even more critical in this world of everyone being obsessed around data to actually have great operations around how your data is delivered and transformed, how it's validated, how its quality is confirmed before it's used. So I agree with the general premise of your question, Krishna, which is, I think in a world where everyone is hiring data scientists or trying to be more data driven or trying to use ML more, things like data ops, things, products and processes that help you manage data and ensure you have the right high quality data available are going to be pretty critical.
Okay, that's a very good answer, and definitely super insightful, Elliot. I'm sure it helps Krishna out there. Let's pick one other question here from YouTube. Alex is asking, I would like to hear your thoughts on standardization of data across multiple systems. I've spent a lot of time normalization, like correlation underscore ID, correlation ID. So yeah, very much on point in terms of what we're discussing today. So Elliot, what do you think about it?
Yeah, this is Alex, this is a common problem, right? And I'm afraid this problem isn't going away. What I've seen as a positive development in this problem is data centralization. And so more and more companies are looking at kind of data centralization, putting all of their data in one place, right? Rather than having data distributed among multiple systems. And we live at a great time for centralizing data because you can have powerful data warehouses like Snowflake, BigQuery, right? Or Databricks, another great one, that's a partner of ours. It's very easy with those systems to just send them all of your data. And once your data is centralized, these conflicts, although you may have to still solve them, they're less likely to proliferate. They're less likely to come up because all of your data is in one place, right? And all of your data kind of has to work together. So I've seen that as the best sort of trend, or best approach for ultimately solving this issue, Alex. So, if you're wondering how do I create fewer of these issues, and you're in an organization somewhere, I would kind of push for centralizing the data, push for having one system that has all the data.
Okay. No, I'm pretty sure Alex likes that answer. Obviously, Elliot, you mentioned it's not something which is a rare problem. It's a common problem out there, and a lot of companies, a lot of folks in the data kind of face that. So thanks for the answer. Krishna did mention as well the previous question that you answered well explained. Awesome. We have a few more questions coming in, but just before we take those questions, wanted to quickly jump on to something which is around monitoring and data quality as well. Elliot, we all know in the world of data observability, it's super hard. People want to, obviously all the large enterprises, small and medium enterprises also want to monitor it. But do you remember? Do you know what are the methods people have used in the past to monitor data quality? How did it work back then? And how we move from the traditional world to this modernized way of monitoring the data?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question, Ravit. I love talking about this topic because we encounter customers where they're going through this journey all the time. But Yeah, I'm sure a lot of your listeners know when folks talked about data quality in the past, the clear approach that they always used was a rules-based approach, right? Which is someone went out, an expert on the data, hopefully, and wrote rules to describe what high quality data looks like in a particular data set. And then you had some system that was checking those rules all the time. And in fact, going back to my example at the beginning of the show, Instacart ran on a rules-based system for data quality. That's
Exactly.
how we monitored it. And what I found during my Instacart experience, and of course now working with many customers of Anomalo, is rules-based systems had three major issues. Issue number one is it actually takes a lot of work to write all the rules, right? Someone has to sit down and kind of somehow come up with all those rules for their data set. It's a lot of time, a lot of work.
Exactly.
Issue number two, even if you do all that, right? Let's say you got your whole team to write rules for all of their data, everyone has done it. Well, actually your job doesn't stop there, because data changes all the time. You launch new products, you open up new geographies, you add new data sources. So issue number two is it's not just enough to write all the rules, you have to maintain the rules over time. So you have to continue to invest in doing that work. And then issue number three is, well, rules are great, but you're only going to write rules about issues that you can anticipate happening, things that you can imagine as data quality issues in the future. No one can imagine 100% of all the issues that they will see in the future. So the rules-based approach actually misses kind of unanticipated issues, or as we call them at Anomalo, the unknown unknowns of what will happen to your data. And that was actually bringing it back to the Instacart example at the beginning. That was actually what happened with Instacart. We had a rules-based system, but it didn't have a rule that said, hey, you should have more than 0 meats at Costco, right? That wasn't a situation that we anticipated. And of course, after the incident that we had, we added that rule immediately. So we were never going to be caught with that issue again. But that's the fundamental problem with rules, is you have to anticipate every possible scenario, or you're actually still vulnerable to these issues in your data. And so at Anomalo, we of course champion a more modern approach, which is you can write the rules if you wish, but fundamentally what we do is we actually write the rules for you through machine learning. And so we train machine learning models on your data to understand what's normal and what's not normal in your data set over time. And those models are able to detect changes in your data that are unexpected, that are unusual. And with no rules written, right, the machine learning model can just trains itself in a fully automated way to detect those kinds of things. And what's great about that is you didn't have to write any rules. The model retrains itself every day. And so if you open the new geography, or you launch the new product, or you had a new data set coming in, that's okay. The model will learn about that and adjust how it works. And you don't have to maintain anything over time. And machine learning is great at detecting unknown unknowns, unusual changes in anything, whether you've told it about that as a possible change or not, right? It can spot those very quickly. So having this foundation of machine learning monitoring is pretty critical these days. And, certainly at scale, when you're thinking about monitoring hundreds of thousands, millions of data sets, it's really the only way to do it, because no one's going to write rules or maintain rules for all of that data.
Yeah. No, I think definitely it kind of gives us a good interpretation of why, this modernized term plus, the data monitoring rules, to be honest, have come in and come in with way better understanding in terms of also utilizing machine learning and having that in place. So the data quality are checked at and monitored at all the levels. So thanks for sharing that, Elliot. And there's a similar sort of question here in in the comments, and I'm gonna pick this. So Sanjeev has a big question here, which kind of covers our faces. But what is your opinion on implementing data quality approach in data pipeline journey? If we are going to implement the data quality rules at each layer, it may increase the complete ELT runtime overall. Can we implement critical, business critical DQ data quality rules to be part of ELT and non-critical data quality outside ELT window? And give some features of the Anomalo and how is it different from the other data quality products. Pretty interesting, heavy question coming for you, Elliot. So yeah, what are your thoughts?
Absolutely. So absolutely 100% you can implement monitoring in the ETL or ELT process. We actually power that for many of our customers. And you're right that it can add some runtime to that process. But, that's why selecting what's critical in pipeline and what's critical outside the pipeline is important. And so we have customers where they run the most critical checks inside the pipeline at the cost of maybe a few seconds, right? And that's okay in terms of the overall time. So definitely encourage folks to do that. We found that even though you've implemented checks within the pipeline, it's still important to check the final output and to run full kind of validation and monitoring data quality checks on the final output of the pipeline, the data that's actually going to be used inside your organization. So we usually start there, but very often many of our customers say, well, I want to catch these issues even earlier inside my pipeline. And what's great about a product like Anomalo is you can actually ask it through our API to run the same checks it would run on the final output in an earlier stage within the pipeline. So you can implement it in a way where, let's say you have, the final result of the pipeline, you're about to promote it to your data warehouse, you're about to promote it to production. You can say, hey, if I promote this data to production, will there be any anomalies detected by Anomalo? Will there be any failures in data quality checks? And so that's something very powerful where you can kind of have a preview of the future of, as this data moves through a pipeline, what's going to happen at the end.
Right.
And it's a very powerful technique for detecting issues and making sure that you only promote data that you're very confident in. In terms of the second part of your question, what differentiates Anomalo? The really big differentiator, as I mentioned, is our machine learning based approach, right? So out of the box, you point Anomalo at the data you're interested in, you connect it to your data warehouse, you point it at some tables, and we start monitoring all of those tables through machine learning immediately. No setup required, nothing for you to do. And when we spot an issue, we continue to use our machine learning based approach to identify the root cause of that issue. This is actually one of our most popular features, which is when we spot an issue with your data, we do an additional set of analysis through our machine learning models to say, well, this data appears localized to this particular tracking event or to this particular geography or to this particular segment of your data, which saves you a bunch of time in investigating how the issue happened and in root causing it. You don't have to run SQL queries to figure out where is the issue and which records are impacted. We kind of give you those results right away. So that's another highly differentiating feature of what we do, which is we're not just there to tell you that there's an issue. We want to help you resolve the issue and investigate the issue and do it as quickly as possible.
Yeah. No, I think those, first of all, Sanjeev, great question. It kind of brought out a lot of interesting insights. And thanks, Elite, for sharing those insights. We also have a comment here from Alex. What result, less noise following ML better? Big companies immediately want less noise, but analysis ultimately finds a noisy issue-riddled system. Is that not a good result? So, pretty interesting. A quick one in terms of picking up from another question here from audience, and this one's from none other than the classification guru Suzanne Walsh. She works around a lot in dirty data. So Are there any common challenges your clients face that you would like to share, Elliot?
Yeah, I mean, so many. We've talked about the kind of data quality challenges that our clients face, and we see all those issues in terms of freshness or missing data or anomalies in the data. There's also a set of organizational challenges that our clients face. Very often, one of the mistakes that I see our customers make is assuming that a centralized team can handle all of the data quality needs, assigning the task of managing data quality to a data engineering team or a data platform team that's kind of centralized in the organization. And that actually doesn't work, because if you have 500,000 tables, that centralized team can't possibly know what each table is about and what's important in the data quality dimension in that table. And so, one of the things that we encourage our customers to do, and many are already on their way, and we're just encouraging them to go faster, is really decentralizing that responsibility and adopting tools and adopting processes that allow individual data scientists or data stewards in the organization who are experts in particular data sets, understand those data sets incredibly well, allowing those folks to really have access to monitor the quality of the tables that they care about, to define what quality means, to react and triage issues from those tables, rather than attempting to have a centralized team do it, who are never going to be able to learn the ins and outs of every data set.
Yeah, no, I think great question, Suzanne, and great example that you've shared. Elliot, Suzanne says, decentralize but keep the data quote on. That's her, motto. So, which is very cool. Thanks, Suzanne, for that question. We also have a few questions there, but before we jump on to another question from the audience, I have a quick question in terms of talking about the larger organizations as well. Can you give us or tell us, or maybe just explain us about the concept of data scalability and how it applies to larger organizations? Because as we were talking about it, Elliot, off air behind the stage as well, like there are so many enterprise companies out there who kind of feel and have that problem where they have a team of say 500 data folks, and how can it be applied to the organization? How much time does it take, and all those questions that the enterprise leaders have? Do you have any insights about that?
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a real problem. I think you have scalability on multiple dimensions that enterprises struggle with. One is just the number of data sets that they have in-house, right? And getting a handle on those. And you can imagine that it's not just the data quality issues. There's issues in kind of data governance and compliance in some of these enterprises, where I don't want to have data sets that accidentally have data that's sensitive that no one knows about. So there's issues there. And then there's issues in terms of the size of their data team, right? They might have hundreds, thousands of people on their data team, all with different levels of expertise, right? And different skill sets, and kind of different backgrounds. And so how do you manage this whole massive set of data sets, this large data team, or how do you align these things to actually give you great ROI on your data and give you great insights from your data, and allow your data to be a powerful asset to your enterprise? And by the way, I failed to mention that often they're adding new data sets all the time, right? It's not just managing a pool. They're doing stuff, right? They're striking partnerships. They're launching products. They're expanding in ways that will create new data. So whatever they come up with has to work quite well, and has to scale as the company scales. And so I think, I would give a few tips for how to approach this problem, right? I don't think it's a problem which is easy to solve, but how to approach this problem. And one is just reiterating something I mentioned earlier, is decentralization. Is coming up with a structure where folks in your very large data team can actually be owners of data. Not just consumers, not just folks that query a table when they need a dashboard and when they need an answer for whoever they're dealing with, but they can actually own that data set, be responsible for what's in that data set, and its quality, its contents, its compliance, all those kinds of things. That is a huge one. And I think that helps you both, manage the large number of data sets you might have, because through decentralization, you can kind of get a handle on what all of those are and surface all of those insights that you need. And it also helps you empower your large data team, because as owners, of a particular data set, a lot of their tasks and a lot of their needs for alignment and collaboration are pretty clear. And so, of course, you need tools on top of that allow you to do that. Tools that identify owners, right? Tools that allow owners of the data, whatever you call them, data stewards. Some folks use that term. Allow those owners to, use powerful tools to create new data sets, to validate, assess the quality of data sets. You need all of those kinds of tools. And our largest customers, you can see their investment in this area. We have a very large financial services customer who has built a centralized tool where if I need a new table in the data warehouse, right, whether from a third party or because it's an output of a transformation on existing data, I can go ahead in this internal tool and I can create it. And what happens when I create this table is, of course, Anomalo is automatically configured to monitor this new table for data quality, and the right details are surfaced for kind of data governance and compliance purposes, right? So you need tools, but then it's also a mindset shift, going from kind of centralized management to this sort of decentralized ownership. Now, there's still a role for centralized teams, and you want to have dashboards and kind of these enterprise overviews of what's going on that are available to these centralized teams to make sure the owners are doing the right things. But that's by far one of the biggest tools we've seen to kind of counter this issue of exploding data, right? The explosion of data in these enterprises. Decentralize and create great tools that both give you a global view and allow the individual owners to do what they need to do.
I think these are amazing insights, and definitely I'm pretty sure the audience will kind of understand how the larger organization functions, what are the pain points, and definitely amazing point in terms of the data ownership, because this is what we've been, this has been a debate since a long. We read so many articles, we read so much about it on various platforms as well about data ownership in this kind of all sums up pretty well. So thanks for sharing that. Another quick comment from Alex. I would like to hear about the key selling points of Anomalo are that I can't achieve with big name analytics tools such as Dynatrace, Azure Log Analytics, etc. Thanks for your answers so far. So this is your time, Elliot.
Thanks, Alex. Appreciate you following up with more questions. So the tools you're talking about, typically specialize in particular kinds of data, right? So Azure Log Analytics, Dynatrace, might specialize in kind of operational data, right? Data coming out of machines or software products. Anomalo will work great on their data, but actually we support many, many different kinds of data beyond that. So if you think about, tracking transactions or sales for your organization, right? Say you're an e-commerce site and you're selling products on your site and tracking those sales and those transactions, you're not going to get a lot of value on top of that transactional data from an Azure Log Analytics. Meanwhile, Anomalo will handle that kind of data and detect anomalies in that kind of data right out of the box. Similar to, marketing spend data, right? Or any kind of data of that kind. Tracking event data. How are folks, if you have a web-based product, how are folks going through your product? Which things are they clicking on? Which pages are they viewing? That kind of page view, click through data, are also things where you're going to have a lot more luck with a more general platform like Anomalo than some of these very specific tools.
Pretty interesting. I think definitely brings up good insights about in terms of how Dynatrace and other tools are also kind of working around. Very quickly, another question here from Mohit Prohit from YouTube. Does Anomalo support data quality for streaming data as well?
Yeah, great question, Mohit. It's something we're working on. So today, most of our customers use us in kind of a batch fashion, and sometimes a micro batch fashion, right? You can check data every 15 minutes, every hour. All right. But we don't typically today work on true kind of real-time streaming data. And partly that's something, we need to think more about and need to build, but partly it was a choice in the early days. Because remember, when we catch something in your data, we actually need a human to triage it and resolve it, right? We are a product that catches issues and sends alerts to humans.
Right.
And humans don't really operate in kind of real time, right? Or in streaming fashion, right? They tend to, operate more in batch mode, right? They want to get those alerts once a day or once an hour, or maybe once every 15 minutes. They don't typically want to get those alerts once a second, right? As their streaming data comes in. So starting with a more micro batch or batch approach made a lot more sense in terms of how you integrate something like Anomalo into your workflow.
Pretty interesting. So you can keep it on tap, Mohit. Anomalo is coming up with it in definitely all those features you would like to see would be out there. Quick question here from Kate, which is pretty interesting. Hi, Kate. So can you walk us through a real world use case, how Anomalo helped a customer detect and resolve a data quality issue? Nice.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I have many of these, so it's hard to pick just one, but I'll pick one that was fun at the time. So we work with a customer who's a large internet publisher, right? Their users come in and publish content on their platform, which then gets published on the web, sent out via email, those kinds of things. And one typical data quality issue we found, which maybe even straddles the world of data quality versus other types of issues, is sometimes we'll find that a particular user has posted an unusually large number of content pieces on their platform. And sometimes that's, the great thing about Anomalo with our root cause analysis, we don't just tell you that something's unusual. We pinpoint the exact user or set of users, right, that drove that spike in the data automatically. And so it actually allows, the folks we're working with at this company to spot not only data quality issues, right, double counting of submissions or events, that's been one that they've encountered, but also changes in user behavior. A particular user is preparing for a big promotion of something, right? Or they've just adopted the platform and they're going through they're migrating a bunch of content from another platform. Interesting changes in user behavior. It also helps them find spam or fraud, right? Because a fraudulent user or spammy user may have, spammed the platform with a bunch of content. And so that's a great example where, we spot the issue, our root cause analysis immediately gives them the users that have caused the spike in their data. And now they can investigate and determine if any action needs to occur.
Awesome. No, I think these are amazing insights, and thanks for sharing that use case as well. It kind of brings up a lot of insights, and I think overall we've had I know we almost time in Elliot, we've discussed and covered a good ground in terms of the data quality, about larger organization, about all sizes of organization. One thing I'm pretty sure, before I ask you the last question, this is my second last question to you, is around data governance. So what role does data governance play in maintaining data quality in larger organization? Can you share like some best practices or strategies for ensuring data quality in at scale in larger organizations? Because in with the data quality, I know how important data governance also kind of plays an important role. So yeah, would like to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. Data governance is actually pretty critical, and the role of data governance in these large enterprises establish basic principles, right? For how to make sure data is of high quality and is compliant, right? Is compliant with the rules and policies of the enterprise, and kind of broadly communicate those principles, and also monitor them, right? So we've routinely provided, had data governance folks in the enterprise that we work with use some of our Anomalo dashboards. We have this enterprise pulse dashboard that shows you data quality throughout your whole organization. Use them to really assess how's the organization doing overall, how are different teams and groups and different data owners within the organization doing in terms of the data quality principles that we've established. What I would caution folks is don't ask the data governance team to actually enforce data quality across all the tables in the enterprise. That's not possible, right? You want that team to establish the principles and to monitor the outcomes, but the enforcement, and the detailed monitoring and resolution of issues has to be something that's decentralized. And so I know I mentioned this a bunch, but it continues to be my number one tip for larger organizations, which is, decentralized data ownership, assign the job of monitoring data and ensuring quality to the teams that are experts in that data, and give them tools to enable them to do that well and do that efficiently.
Yeah, and definitely, it all kind of makes sense because if there are, obviously it kind of solves the problem of the larger organization when they kind of decentralize, break into pieces, and then, those experts kind of look at it and monitor the data. So there's no breakages, no problem out there. So, but these are fantastic insights, Elliot. I know we have time. One last question that I have for you, and I'm pretty sure the audience here as well is if they want to find out, if they want to reach out to you, learn more about Anomalo, learn more about data quality, data governance, and about, obviously your journey, your experiences, where can they reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So to learn more about Anomalo, you can just go to anomalo.com. That's ANOMALO.com. And we have lots of information there about the product. You can request a demo. You can watch some video demos. You can read our latest news and thinking. And for those that want to connect with me directly, you can find me on LinkedIn. Just search for Elliot and Anomalo.
Awesome. So you guys know where you can reach out. But this was super insightful, Elliot. And thanks once again for visiting the Ravit Show. Obviously, I can't wait to do a 2.0 session where we discuss more about the developments that have happened in the data quality in the near future. And thank you to our audience for asking lovely questions. There were a lot of questions coming in. There are still some questions. We also have a comment here from Amy. This fantastic information. Thank you for sharing all this knowledge. Thanks, Elliot, once again, and thanks to our audience for joining us. Until next time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Bye.